The Chicago Bears were bad on Monday night. The Minnesota Vikings were somehow even worse, even during a season in which quarterback injuries and poor play by many healthy QBs has led to some bad NFL games, particularly in prime time. The Chicago Bears' 12-10 win over the Minnesota Vikings was an especially brutal watch. Say this much about the Bears: they did put together one game-winning drive when they needed it, just with 55 seconds left. One of the first deep passes he hit in a night. The Vikings came in at 6-5 and in good shape in the NFC playoff race. The play of Joshua Dobbs, who had 4 interceptions, and the offense as a whole on Monday night should put into question how long they'll remain in that race. It was a bad primetime game, and the Vikings lost it more than the Bears won it. For a few weeks after the Vikings traded for him, Dobbs looked like a miracle worker. He was shorthand for the mistakes teams made in not addressing their backup quarterback position, whether it was the Browns making an error trading him away or the Jets screwing up not trading for him. Then Dobbs turned in one of the worst halves of football a quarterback can play. His first completion came at the 10-minute mark of the second half, when he threw his second interception, which was more on Jordan Addison for not catching it than Dobbs. He was 3 of 6 for 9 yards with 2 interceptions and a 16.7 rating. Then, on Minnesota's next drive, he threw a pass that should have been a pick-6, but Bears cornerback Jalen Johnson dropped it. He and the rest of the Vikings were simply horrendous. The first half, the Vikings had 24 yards and yet trailed just 3-0. When Dobbs finally completed a couple passes late in the half, and Minnesota got in the red zone on a defensive pass interference penalty, he immediately took an intentional grounding penalty that stalled the drive. At least the Vikings got a field goal out of it, given how flat as the Vikings were as a team, and how bad Dobbs was playing. Being tied 3-3 at halftime seemed like a huge win for Minnesota. It's hard to say anything in the Vikings' horrible performance was a low point, but Dobbs' interception in the fourth quarter was horrific. He panicked under pressure, tried getting rid of the ball short over the middle. It came wobbling out of his hands. Defensive tackle Justin Jones tried picking it off but batted it in the air, where it was picked off by Gordon. And how did the Bears follow up that gift? With Fields fumbling it away deep in Vikings territory. The Bears had a lot of trouble winning a game the Vikings were trying to give away. Fields completed a lot of passes, but almost all of them were short. After T.J. Hockenson finally scored a touchdown, with less than 6 minutes remaining to give Minnesota the lead, the Bears were down just 10-9. But on a scramble shortly after that, Fields fumbled, and the Vikings recovered. The Bears had one more shot in the last 2 minutes. They started moving the ball, but Fields threw and it was certainly an ugly loss for the Vikings. Minnesota looked like a great story as they won games following Kirk Cousins' injury. Monday night's loss was a crash back to reality.